Hello, I'm Karen Stathoplos, and I'm going to be reading one of the 12 stories from this very lovely book, Christmas Days by Jeanette Winterson. I bought it at Shakespeare and Company in Paris, actually. I'm sure it's available here also, but this is the first story. And it's kind of about the spirit and traditions and how Christmas came to be. It's called Christmas Tide. Wise men trekking across the desert following a star. Shepherds in the fields with flocks by night. An angel fast as thought and bright as hope, turning eternity into time. Hurry, a baby will be born. Believers and unbelievers know this story. Who doesn't know this story? An inn, a stable, a donkey, Mary, Joseph, gold, frankincense, myrrh. And at the heart of the story, the mother and child. Until the Protestant Reformation in Europe in the 16th century, the Madonna and Child was the Christian image everybody would see every day. Stained glass, statue, oil painting, carving, and the homely shrines people made for themselves. Imagine it. Most people can't read or write, but their minds are vivid with stories and images. Images are more than the illustration to the story. They are the story. When you and I go into an ancient church in Italy or France or Spain, we cannot read the myriad scenes in the vaulted ceilings or the frescoes or the hung paintings, but our ancestors could. We stand with our guidebooks looking for clues. They threw back their heads and saw the mystery of the world. After the Reformation, Mary, who had been treated like the fourth member of Godhead, was demoted. The Reformation wasn't good for women. We soon hit the Europe-wide witch burnings and, of course, the Pilgrim Fathers, who landed at Plymouth Rock in 1620, were Puritans of the most uncompromising sort. Cue the Salem witch trials in the 1690s. In New England, the Puritans banned the celebration of Christmas in 1659, and that law wasn't repealed until 1681. Why? Too pagan in its origins, too party time, too pleasurable. Why be happy when you can be miserable? And too dangerous to let Mary back out of the kitchen and into the starring role. The Mary myth brilliantly manages two magnetically opposed forces. The new religion of Christianity offers a tale of God into man, divine birth. Mary is special and singled out, like in the hero stories. Her pregnancy is no ordinary domestic arrangement. She has been visited by a god. The birth of Jesus is only written about in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, and their versions are different. Mark and John don't discuss the birth story at all. There is no mention of December 25th anywhere in the Bible. So, how did it happen? The Roman festival of Saturnalia is part of the story. This was a typical midwinter festival celebrating the turning of the sun. The shortest day of the year is December 21st, the winter solstice. The pagan emperor Aurelian declared December 25th, Natalis Solis Invicti, the birth of the invincible sun. This festival included gift-giving, party-going, wearing silly hats, getting drunk, lighting candles, and roaring fires as sun symbols, and decorating public places with evergreens. In Celtic Britain, the winter festival of Samhain began on what is our Halloween, All Hallows' Eve, a festival of the dead. And as in Germanic and Scandinavian countries, the Celts celebrated the December solstice with bonfires and merriment. This period of Yule is where we get our word Yuletide. Evergreens, the holly and ivy, emblems of ongoing life, were used both as decorations and as sacred installations. The church took the sensible view that if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and incorporated all the elements people were reluctant to give up: the singing, the celebrating, the evergreens, the gift-giving, and of course, this time of year, Christmas. Santa Claus is one of the many mixed messages of Christmas. Nicholas was a Turkish bishop of Smyrna, born around 250 years after the death of Christ. He was rich and gave gifts of money to people in need. The best story about him is that one night, trying to throw a bag of gold through a window, he found the window closed and had to shin up onto the roof and drop the sack down the chimney. Who knows? But as usual, a cult grew up around him. This Turkish bearded gift giver merged with the bearded god Odin, who had the advantage of traveling on a flying horse with 8 legs. New Amsterdam, now New York City, was a Dutch settlement. In 1809, in spite of the best efforts of the descendants of all that New England Puritan stock, Santa is riding a wagon over the treetops in Washington Irving's A History of New York. In 1822, another American, Clement Moore, nailed the definitive Santa in his poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. Everybody knows those opening lines. "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." This is the moment when St. Nick gets his reindeer. But he was still wearing green, his color as a pre-Christian fertility god. Enter Coca-Cola. In 1931, the Coca-Cola Company commissioned a Swedish artist, Haden Sundblom, to give Santa a makeover. Red it had to be, and from then on, thanks to the advertising might of Coke, Santa's robes are red. The Christmas tree is an ancient symbol of the power of life to survive and thrive in the dead of winter. What did our ancestors think trudging through the dark, bare forests when they came across an evergreen? Famously, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert managed the first modern celebrity photo shoot when they posed in front of their Christmas tree at Windsor Castle in 1848. Trees themselves are sacred objects. Think of the apple tree in the Garden of Eden, the world ash tree, Yggdrasil, worshipped in Norse and Germanic mythology, the Druid oak. James Cameron's Avatar features a goddess tree, and in the Tolkien sagas, the Ents, the talking, walking trees, are brutally cut down by Saruman and the orcs, enemies of the sacred forest. So, the tree is symbolic across centuries and cultures, and the evergreen tree, a symbol of life's persistence. The Massachusetts Puritans hated all those pagan connections, but they couldn't stop the moment in 1851 when 2 sled loads of trees were hauled from the Catskills to New York City to become the first retail Christmas trees sold in the United States. The 19th century is the century when Christmas becomes the Christmas we celebrate now. The Christmas tree, Christmas cards, season of goodwill, gift-giving, robins, feasting, charity to the poor, snow, supernatural agency of some kind, whether ghosts, visions, or a mysterious star. It's in the 19th century that all the great Christmas carols we love to sing were composed. It's the 19th century that invents the Christmas card. Henry Cole worked for the London Post Office and realized that the penny post, 1840, was a great way of sending simple greeting cards. So in 1843, he got his friend to draw some, and before you could say plum pudding, the Christmas card craze was off. Christmas carols, cards, and most Victorian of all, the Christmas ghost story. Telling stories round the fire is as old as language, and as fires are lit at night and in wintertime, the winter festivals were natural storytelling opportunities. But the ghost story as a phenomenon is a 19th century phenomenon. One theory is that the specters and apparitions claimed in so many sightings were a result of low-level carbon monoxide poisoning from gas lamps. They do cause fuzzy, drowsy hallucinations. Add in thick fogs and plenty of gin, and it starts to make sense. But there's a psychological side to this too. The 19th century was haunted by itself. Its new industrialization seems to have unleashed the very powers of hell. Visitors to Manchester called it the Inferno. And the new poor, the factory slaves, the basement dwellers, the toilers in iron, heat, filth, and degradation, appeared like specters, thin, yellow, ragged, semi-human, half-dead. This is also the century of organized charity and philanthropy is not a coincidence. And that it is the century of Christmas at its most inspired as well as at its most sentimental should not surprise us. Christmas becomes a magic circle, the season of goodwill where those who have benefited most from the mechanized desolation of their fellows can both make amends and soothe their own souls. That is why Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol begins with Scrooge's refusal to give money to help the poor. Are there no workhouses? Scrooge is the polar opposite of Santa Claus. Can't give, won't give, until he finds himself visited by three spirits, plus the ghost of his dead partner, Jacob Marley. This is a story of hard hearts and second chances, of the misrule of Christmas, where ordinary laws are turned upside down, of clock time being out-chimed by significant time. A lifetime happens in a night. And of goose, pudding, fires, candles, fearsome hot cocktails, smoking bishop, and snow so thick the city sleeps. And a Merry Christmas to us all. God bless us, everyone. In America, Christmas wasn't declared a federal holiday until 1870, after the American Civil War, as a way of reuniting North and South in a shared tradition. Yet, in spite of the Puritans' best efforts, and in spite of the fact that Christmas is most certainly not a Jewish celebration, Americans and American Jews have contributed as much to the folklore of Christmas as any star, shepherd, Santa, or angel. It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, Meet Me in St. Louis, The Polar Express, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Trading Places, Scrooged, Home Alone, White Christmas. The movie list is only getting longer. And when you're singing along to White Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Baby, Winter Wonderland, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, or humming about roasting those chestnuts by an open fire, raise a glass to those Jewish songwriters who saw a good opportunity for a tune and gave us the classics we love. Christmas was banned by the Puritans in the UK and the USA because it is such a gaudy ragbag of a festival with something borrowed from everywhere. Pagans, Romans, Norsemen, Celts, Turks. And because its celebratory free spirit, its gift-giving, topsy-turvy misrule made it anti-authority and anti-work. It was a holiday, holy day of the best kind, where devotion has joy in it. Life should be joyful. I know Christmas has become a cynical retail hijack, but it is up to us all, individually and collectively, to object to that. Christmas is celebrated across the world by people of all religions and no religion. It is a joining together, a putting aside of differences. In pagan and Roman times, it was a celebration of the power of light and the cooperation of nature and human life. Money wasn't the point. In the best love of all Christmas carols, the poet Christina Rossetti poses the question of what we can give that is not about money or power or success or talent. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what can I give him? Give my heart. We give ourselves to others. We give ourselves to ourselves. We give. Whatever we make of Christmas, it should be ours, not something that we buy off the shelf.